Hey everybody, before we get started, I just wanted to make an announcement. Due to the recent allegations against Alex from Puppy Latte, the guy that does our intro and outro music, we've decided to use different music for our intro and outro going forward. And while we're commissioning the new one in the interim, we're just going to use music from the game we're playing. So without further ado, let's get the episode started. Welcome to RPG Book Club. On this episode, we learn a lot of shocking plot revelations and the fact that Soylent Green as people is the least important one of them.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Michael Spiffle-Webbin.
I am Sam Allman.
And I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Today, we're hitting an important milestone in all of our lives. We'll be playing chapters 46 through 50 of Xenogears, from Into Solaris through Tears for Fears, aka the rest of Disc 1. We'll be stopping at the very obvious, do you want to save your game? Okay, change your disc now, point. So, before we get started, how y'all doing?
So I'm a wizard, and I released our Halloween bonus episode at midnight on Halloween, and that woke Toby Fox up in a sweat. And he's like, I have to make a Deltarune Undertale 2, and he made it in the next 5 hours and released it at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so me and Eli have been playing the crap out of Deltarune, and Spiffle has not played any of it yet. So
I haven't.
In lieu of throwing up a spoiler warning and talking about it, I will just say it owns a lot. It owns hard.
Freaking play it.
Yeah, play it hard and play it fast.
Good to know.
Yeah. Other than that, Halloween was really bad yesterday. It rained constantly, so we went trick-or-treating to literally 6 houses, and then we came back because we're like, I can't do this anymore. And because wrangling a 2-year-old and her bucket of candy that she's so proud of, and a umbrella, and also 2 humans is kind of hard. So we went and got her a Halloween experience, and then went inside where it was dry. Yeah. On top of that, she was throwing a big old fit all day that she had to wear her costume. Meanwhile, the day before, she was just like, ooh, can I wear the costume and put on the hat? And she wouldn't even put on the hat yesterday. We went trick-or-treating without the Scooby-Doo hat.
Oh, my God.
The joys of children.
They're the best worst. But, that was about it. How about you, Eli?
I had a very productive week. I've been drawing a whole lot more than I used to because for some reason Hollow Knight has given me some crazy inspiration.
Awesome.
Yeah, it feels pretty great. And what else? Oh, I obviously making my videos. I was making videos for Deltarune. I made videos for Hazelnut Bastille, which is a demo of a really amazing Zelda clone that's coming out, like Link to the Past Zelda clone.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal.
It's so beautiful.
And the opening cutscene pixel art is probably the best piece of pixel art I've seen in the last very long time.
Yeah, same. Oh my God. I'm so excited for this game to come out. I ended up tossing them some of my money because I was like, I can't not toss them my money after playing this. And I've missed out on Kickstarters for every other game that I love. I'm not missing out on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like it'll be dope, and we'll probably end up playing it depending on how long it is for an episode or a bonus episode.
Oh yeah,
because it looks great and seemed to be very plot heavy. Normally a text box pops up in an RPG and it's 4 lines on the bottom of the screen. This one, it was the whole screen fills up and then just give you a paragraph of stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, this looks lore rich, and I'm down for it.
I'm very very excited for it. But yeah, that was my week.
What about you, Spiff?
Oh my gosh, y'all. Carly dropped a new single today, and it's fantastic. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I already said more off the record about it. But that's all I'm going to say on the record about it. So that's one thing that happened in my life, was Carly dropped a new thing. Super Smash Bros. Looks great.
Super Smash Bros. Looks phenomenal. We actually postponed our recording time so that we could watch the Super Smash Bros. Direct this morning.
Well, to be fair, attempted to return it to the normal recording time.
Yes.
Because I'm the only reason we ever have to do it early.
Yeah.
Because of my stupid work meetings. But anyway, I had a very, very productive week. There's some stuff that I can't talk about, that I won't talk about, but other things that I can, such as I went on a little vacation to my, not actually hometown, but kind of hometown of Austin, Texas, where I got to see both of these dorks over here.
Yay!
I had a cool party, and I saw Eli and Ken for the first time. They're great. And then I got to see Sam and his sweet little babby. A little later than that. It was a really good trip all around. Love to be supported by friends and family and surrounded by love, and not to be stressed about shit for a couple days.
My favorite part of you coming to visit Scarlett is, at first you're just like, oh, she's so adorable, but then at the end when she gives you a hug, you're like, that's it, never mind, I'm going to have kids now. I have to. Yep.
I was like, okay, time to BRB having a child. It was good shit. Also, Sam is the wizard who made an Undertale episode and caused Toby Fox to make an Undertale sequel. My friend Harrison's also a wizard and managed to, with my help, conceptualize, write, record, and release a Halloween-themed album of music in 4 days.
That's insane.
The dude's got fucking hustle, man. We literally, like, he had put zero effort into it. He had put zero thought into it. He even been through his own stuff. So I get to his house on Saturday, and that was when the album making process started. It was when I got to his house Saturday, and we recorded on Saturday, and we recorded on Monday. And then he uploaded the album to Bandcamp Wednesday at like noon. You motherfucker.
That's insane.
So yeah, just little plug there. If you feel like Googling on Bandcamp, or I guess that's not Googling. If you feel like searching for the band Dragon Warrior, the newest album, which is called In the Long Shadow of Reverb Mountain, which is the third in the Reverb Mountain trilogy, which is, what's the first one called? I don't know. Something Reverb Mountain, In Search of Reverb Mountain, and In the Longer Shadow of Reverb Mountain. It's good. That's all I feel like talking about.
Yeah. Could I maybe ask you to talk about Xenogears?
Absolutely. So when we last left Goku and our heroes, Faye, I misspoke a little bit. I said that Faye got into a stupid box and his friends followed him, but actually Faye got into the stupid box alone.
Yeah.
And then the box immediately closed and moved. Well, then again, it's RPG, right? So it's like, oh, you see one guy there, but really they're all there. But then I remembered Xenogears doesn't do that, actually.
Yeah.
Xenogears actually has the party following you.
Which is great.
So which is great. So anyway, so Faye's trapped in this little box, and you get to Solaris finally. You're in the slums of Solaris, and everything's hexagonal shaped because there's this big bee theme, because all the slaves are worker bees, and they're all worker bees in a beehive, and they're in colonies and stuff like that. And it's very
it's the bee movie game.
It's the bee movie game. Yeah, Faye saddles up to a cute lady, and it's like, you like jazz?
Yeah. Every time we say bees in this episode, it's gonna increase.
Yeah. Every time I say every time Faye repeats the question repeats something he was just said, it gets faster.
Oh my god, there's one at the very end of this playthrough that literally was like a paragraph. Saitan was like, paragraph, and then Rico was like, you mean paragraph? And then Bart was like
back and
paragraph.
forth.
And it was like 4 of them of like filling 2 text boxes with a question mark at the end.
Yep. Oh my god, I remember that. It was crazy. You get to this place. You're finally in Solaris, and I gotta say, to mention my buddy Bernard for the millionth time, his big criticism of this game, which I realized was accurate, even though I hadn't realized it before, is that even though it seems like it's hog bonkers Takahashi shenanigans, and it's like, whoa, the plot's so crazy. Mm-hmm. The secret about this game is that it's low key actually a super generic role JRPG. Like, even though the plot gets all crazy and there's all the references to religion and stuff, like the first couple dungeons are like a forest, a desert, a cave. The towns are like boring RPG towns with boring RPG conflicts. And I realized, oh yeah, that is true. Like, people remember all the crazy stuff, but they forget how much of it is just like completely generic RPG. Mm-hmm. This is the part of the game where it stops being that. And I think it's so good. I think it's clear that this is the game Takahashi wanted to make. Like, Takahashi clearly is extremely versed in science fiction. Mm-hmm. Like, this place is just packed full of references, not just literal references, like to a certain movie, as we'll see later, but just everything about the way the characters, the way the NPCs talk, the world building, the architecture, everything is like, yeah, this guy has seen a million science fiction movies and read every single science fiction book, and he loves this shit. And this is the kind of thing he wanted to put into a video game, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's really good. So, for example, one of the first things that happens when you get to the place is this NPC is like, all you people are crazy, working like bees day after day. It gets faster. Working like bees. Y'all are machines. Y'all don't have any free will. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to escape. So he's just, just like having a breakdown. And he climbs up to the top of one of the buildings, and he's going to throw himself from it, commit suicide. He's like, I can't take it anymore. But then this little floating observer drone, just picks him up like, nope, can't do that. And then his legs just dangle like, let me go. And I'm thinking, wait, he's stopping him from killing himself. So what are they going to do? Like, put him in jail? Turns out the little drone drops him down a fucking shaft and kills him. And I'm like, wait, but you just helped him. No. The robot's just like, no, you don't kill you. I kill you.
I kill you.
I decide who lives and dies around here.
He didn't even get his "you can't fire me, I quit"
Yeah,
moment.
Exactly. He's like, no, you can't quit. I'm killing you. But that really sets the scene for the whole thing. And yeah, there's just God, that seems so funny. I took so many screenshots of that one little cutscene.
And frankly, that one cutscene would have done enough to sell the atmosphere to cut out the entirely way too long reference to an old movie that takes up the next like 2 hours of content.
Oh yeah.
I think it's good, but I also agree with you. So after this, you explore, and I'll I know we went hard on the exploring last time, so I won't go too hard on it this time. But it's just really good, deep, dense world building. It's like very well conceived, actually. There's good terminologies. For example, you learn there's a thing called being, quote, rearranged, which turns out when all the slaves get enslaved, they basically like erase their memories and scramble their personalities to make them sort of like new blank slate people. But it doesn't 100% like work. So sometimes people get confused or they remember who they used to be, which is what happened with that guy. And everyone in his block, I guess he was a member of a certain block of housing. Mm-hmm. And everyone is like, God damn it, our block was doing really well. We were on our way to get like some perks for doing good work. And now because of this, we're all going to get rearranged. And then that happens. You see an entire like block of the wall like recede into the wall, and you're like, oh, okay, all those people are going to get their brains scrambled.
Luckily, it happens right as you leave that door, and you're like, whew, thanks plot armor. That nearly was bad.
Ooh, boy, yeah.
New game. Faye gets his mind scrambled in an end.
So you explore. The area is really big. And I love the way it looks. It's got all these cool angles. It's got this nice, weird high camera angle. It zooms out a lot. And then you meet Timothy from the beginning of the game.
Timothy?
That's not Timothy.
It's not Timothy. It's not Timothy. It's Samson. Wait, did Timothy really get vaporized?
Timothy? was he was the guy that got vaporized at the beginning by Faye.
Oh yeah, he got the hell vaporized. Yeah, I forgot what happened. So is this actually? So did he get his brain scrambled, or is this actually just not actually Timothy?
I think it's just not actually Timothy. It didn't have a have a talking head.
He just bears a strong resemblance.
Oh yeah, no talking head. I just figured. See, I thought it was just a depressing, like, oh, Timothy got captured and his brain got scrambled, and that's depressing. Also, not having a talking head is cute because it's like not the same guy as before. But yeah, you're right. It's probably just a similar sprite.
Yeah, unless somehow, some way, the id explosion Super Saiyan thing just teleports people to Solaris or some bullshit. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't just that he has the same sprite. He, like, Faye called him Timothy.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said he's not Timothy. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think he just got vaporized, and it's he bears a strong resemblance.
Gotcha. So you talk with him, and he's like, yeah, so I was at that tournament back in Ave. We fought, and then, like, I got captured, and they tried to scan all my memories, but it didn't work, actually. So I've still got my wits about me, so I'm gonna escape. And it's like, oh, we can break through this guard tower, blah, blah, blah. And he asks Faye if Faye wants to help escape too. And I don't remember if I picked yes or no. But either way, you can't do it yet, right? Because you're looking for Ellie, because you all got separated because Faye's an idiot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, hey, you seen he's like, you're like,
seen a chick
like,
with
hey,
auburn hair?
Yeah, well, he's also like, hey, have you seen a literal, like, first-class Solaris guard? And he's like, oh, you're with her? She's over that way. He's not like, oh, she's evil because she's a Solaris guard. He's like, oh, it's like he instantly is like, oh, she must be cool, I guess.
It's like, oh, if she's your friend, that's fine.
Person I just met.
Yeah.
A friend of Faye's is a friend of mine. Yeah. It's like when they met Hammer, and suddenly it was, oh, Hammer, you're so quirky.
It's like they all act like they've all been Hammer's buddy for ages. So you meet up with Ellie, and she's immediately like, Faye, you dumbass. This chapter is a lot of people telling Faye that he's a dumbass, and I am here for it. Yeah. I'm very here for it.
Sometimes you need to hear it.
There's even like a scientific breakdown and a little bit of like scientifically why Faye is a dumbass.
Yep. Which again, I think is the all need. Like, imagine if someone set me down and was like, look, I know you're a dumbass, but here's a fucking PowerPoint presentation about exactly how much of a dipshit you are and why and how that came to be. And I would watch that and I'd be like, I've learned so much about myself. That's why I'm just a big fan of the Enneagram. It just tells me how big of a dipshit I am. Oh man, No. Venus is still in retrograde. Damn it. I was thinking maybe Venus is out of retrograde for once. Nope, it's not. But it is Scorpio season. So anyway, you meet Ellie and she's like, hey, this place is different than I thought it was or whatever. And I don't remember what happened, Ducky, but basically she shares that when she was a kid, she like took a field trip here. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, let's go see all the slaves, basically. And it's like really fucked up. She goes, I remember thinking that their lives had nothing to do with me. So, and it's kind of a serious moment. But then Faye is like, oh, so you should know your way around then.
Okay. You can be party leader.
Yeah. She shares this deep story about like how how fascism works and stuff. And he's like, cool. Cool. That worked out pretty well for us then.
Thanks, Faye.
Yeah. So then you start going through with Ellie because she has like a key card or whatever. You and Ellie and Samson start going through like the hallways, like to get to the next level or whatever, like the government hallways, and you get to this little force field thingy. And Sam's like, doop, 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 gonna go through the force field. And he goes through it, and he gets vaporized for the second time this game.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it was Timothy, he just got vaporized.
It keeps happening.
Classic Timothy, always getting vaporized. I think it's so great
because he's like, yeah, these things will like read your DNA to see if you're a third-class citizen or not. But don't worry, I paid top dollar to make it to spoof it so I can get through. There's no reason to not. Let me just walk over. Everything's gonna be shit.
There's no there's no way this could go wrong.
The one thing I think is funny is that after it vaporizes him, Faye's really upset, and he goes, "Damn you! I'm gonna destroy it. And he starts punching the computer, like, you vaporized my friend, you bad computer. And I'm like, no, Faye, you have to fight the systemic issues. You can't just destroy a computer.
Because it's literally that computer's fault that his friend got vaporized, not the fact that he's a freaking slave.
although as someone who has literally destroyed bird and lime scooters, I get it. Because I do hate them. And it feels good to destroy a machine. Yeah, so anyway, so you go through this area and there's a tiny little cute stealth section that is inconsequential, which is good because if it was consequential it'd be annoying. And there's no battles in this area, right? Yeah, no battles. I love these little no battle dungeons. You get to the next level and they're all how do you get through? Ellie, again, these people have bad infosec, okay? Ellie's like, I'm first class, so literally just stand right next to me, and when we go through it, it'll detect that I'm first class, and it'll be fine.
By that same logic, wouldn't it detect that Faye was not Solaran and vaporize both of you?
No, I mean, I get that. It's like, it just looks for a chip, right? So if the chip is there, it's like, all right, you're good.
Yeah.
But it's like when you're at the dorm, and it's like, look, if a random person wants you to swipe them into the dorm, don't do it. but no one ever follows that rule because, like, small case,
these rules are
extremely low percentage chance that you're letting in some sort of murderer or robber. Extremely high percentage chance that you're just being a jerk to someone who lives there, but not letting them in. But anyway, you get out to the second level, the second class place, and everyone's like, "Hey, first class officer, why are you coming out of the third class area?" And of course, Ellie does that classic, like, "Oh, this Wookiee is my prisoner" thing with Faye. Also, frankly, Ellie is a really bad liar. She's like, first of all, she's caught off guard. Like, she didn't expect this fucking question.
Right?
She's like, I was down there collecting a special tax. She doesn't even say what the tax is. She's just like, there's a special tax and I had to go get it. Okay, bye. Also,
this will definitely work.
Yeah, also, there's a great part where one of the NPCs is like, I heard the gates got destroyed down on the surface. Is everything okay? And your two responses are, it's okay and it's questionable. Which continues this game's trend of extremely good dialogue responses.
It's so good.
So then you get up to Solaris, and well, I don't know about y'all, but when I first played this game, it was not what I expected. What do y'all think?
I don't remember.
I couldn't say for sure.
Well,
what
mostly just like the music being weird.
The like weird goofy music.
Yeah, well, because the whole thing is like you've finally gotten to like the bad guys' evil city where all the bad people are, and you're expecting it to be like dramatic infiltration music, which it was a second ago.
Oh yeah, and
but it's like
bouncy.
Yeah,
weird.
it's like goofy carnival music. I feel like this music's almost like diegetic. Like this is what life is like all the time, right? They're all just having fun, having a good time, living the high life, and it's creepy because you know the cost of that sort of lifestyle.
The guide that I had said it was a mall, so
yeah, I think it is some sort of mall.
That would make sense for it to be within universe.
Yeah. So it's public square, everything's happy, and you talk to all these NPCs, and they're it's basically just them explaining like how they're even more fascist than you thought they were. They're sci-fi space Israel, basically. And they're talking about how they're all really obsessed with descendants and having good descendants and good genes. You have to expect them all to bust out calipers every time you talk to them. Start trying to measure your skull. This one guy says, "Are you Etrin strolling?" Etrin strolling is walking along the Etrinank. So Etrinank is this mall that you're at. And they're like, Etrin strolling is walking on the Etrinank. You need to download the Etrin guide to do it. So this game's very prescient. This came out in 1998. And they're already like, oh.
There's an app for that.
You heard? There's an app for taking a jog. You have to download it. You have to download an app if you want to walk along this boardwalk. I'm like, whoa, are these guys from San Francisco circa 2018? I'm seeing, because like, that's probably an actual thing.
Yeah, it probably actually is.
In San Francisco now, like most of the private businesses, you have to download and use an app to use the bathroom.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because heaven forbid you just go up to the barista and be like, hey, can you give me the bathroom key? They're like, no, you need to download this fucking app and make a profile. And then
it's insane.
It's stupid.
It's also not a free service. So good luck being homeless and not shitting in the streets.
Yeah, San Francisco is basically just like...
Oh, that's why they have it.
San Francisco is basically just... Oh, yeah, obviously. San Francisco is basically just like, hey... How can we make an entire city where it's not possible to exist in any location without paying money?
Yeah.
Like public parks? No, not even pay money to be in a park. So it's just like, you want to be in this 49 square mile radius, you have to be paying money for some reason. It's a terrible city. It's a terrible city, and I don't ever want to go to it. Anyway, so that's what this place is like in the game.
Wow.
There's this kid who's playing with a drone, and he's like, wow, the drone really flies. It's like a little gear, and he goes, purge the lambs. Wow. And the kid's like playing little baby lamb purger.
Right. Like when you would play Cowboys and Indians, and the Cowboys would have to win by slaughtering all of the Indians.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Man, this game really is fascinating because like the whole, like the drones thing, like in 1998 we didn't have... So regular people couldn't just buy like drones for funsies. Yeah. But now you definitely can. And I'm sure there are little kids out there in certain parts of the country that are like pretending to drone bomb,
definitely.
Pretending to drone bomb Palestinians for fun. So that's fun. This game got dark.
And this isn't even plot stuff. This is just kids hanging around this mall.
Yeah. But again, like this is all like these NPCs. I don't know. It's really good. It's my favorite part of the whole game, I think. Anyway, there's a special ceremony happening, and to hear Sam tell it, it's like Ellie's like, we should go to the fun thing, and
Face literally like, but we're on a stealth mission. All of our friends are probably dead because we haven't seen them, and we're in a hostile environment, and we kind of have like a ticking clock before they kind of raise the entire Earth. And she's like, yeah, but it's like a party, so can we go? And Faye's
for
like,
reasons.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she has a decent reason actually, but it still comes off funny.
Yeah, because she's just like, oh, don't we need to like figure out what the bad guys are up to? And it's like, yeah, we can do that, not at a party. But okay.
What happens is that people, because we destroyed the 3 gates down on the surface,
and now
or the gate generators,
they're not cloaked anymore.
Yeah, the people are kind of freaking out. It's weird. They're freaking out to a degree, but they're also like so pompous that they're untouchable. Mm-hmm. That they're like, it's probably fine. They're like kind of worried, but they're also like, we're Solaris. Nothing can hurt us, even if they destroy the gate. So anyway, there's a ceremony that's going to quell people basically and calm everyone down from their panic. And yeah, Ellie says we should go get intel on the enemy. You find someone who's like, man, they can cure anything these days, but they still can't cure a bad back. I wish I could go to the ceremony. You want my ticket? So you get to the ceremony, and the Emperor says that the gate destruction was an inside job. He says, no, the Emperor planned the destruction of the gate. That it wasn't a bad thing that happened. It was a good thing because we're about to become one with God and finish our ultimate plan. We found Mahana, the resting place of Mother God, which is interesting for reasons. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go there and she's ultimate power, and everyone's like, "Yay, ultimate power! Yay, we're the best." Okay, we're not scared that the land dwellers destroyed our defenses because apparently it's good actually. Y'all are pointing out that this is yet another game where the bad guy is some sort of weird mother creature.
Yeah, and so far, Sailor Moon is the only game we've played where that's not the big twist at the end. Is that there's this big maternal evil named Mother. But
and the funny thing is, I'm even a little bit surprised because I know where this game's plot goes and I know what they mean by mother, but it's the wording here is interesting, actually. So I'm going to have to square that with what ends up actually happening later. Mm-hmm. So Ellie starts wilding for a second. I don't know why. She's just like, I think maybe like the Emperor, I don't know. Maybe the Emperor has some kind of like mind control or something. Like he has an effect on all the citizens or something because Ellie's like spacing out. They don't really explain it.
I don't even remember it.
It's pretty short. So then Krellian appears for the first time, like
to Faye and stuff.
Yeah, for the first time, not just in a cutaway scene with a brain ball. And Ellie's like, oh shit, that's Krellian. He's the real leader of Solaris. No one ever sees him, but he's actually the leader. It's not actually the Emperor. Kane or the brain ball or whatever. It goes into a flashback. Turns out Lacan, that's Faye back in the day, and Krellian used to be buddies in Nissan, which we already knew that actually because we learned that in Shavat, right? Yeah. Anyway, Krellian returned briefly. He's been studying under Melchior, getting learnt. Krellian and Faye and old Faye and Lacan go for a walk and talk, but then later Krellian's in some weird lab. And he's like, Faye, this will do it. This will save Padme. I don't know. He's clearly going mad with power with his weird magic experiments. And Faye and Lacan is like, WTF, dude. Anyway, so now Faye's wildin' because he's remembering all this shit. But turns out that the Emperor Kane is like, hey, guess what? Look, we caught all these intruders, and it's the rest of the party, and they're like, they're gonna get disposed of in the Soylent system.
I wonder what that means.
So they just took the plot of Soylent Green and put it in this game, and they didn't even change what it's called.
They didn't change a single thing about it. For the next 2 hours, we just discovered that Soylent is people.
They did add more shit to it. They changed it in some weird ways that made it kind of less dramatic than it is in the actual movie. Such as, for example, bringing it up 5 minutes before the big twist actually happens, instead of at the beginning of the story, like you're supposed to with a twist. In case you aren't aware, I guess it's a spoilers for the movie Soylent Green, but it's a really good movie. Have y'all seen that movie?
People.
Have y'all seen Soylent Green?
I've seen Soylent Green.
It's a fucking great movie.
I actually haven't.
My parents
seen it, but it's like.
It's so prevalent in
it's one of those movies,
sci-fi
it's
culture.
One of those movies that's absurdly famous for its one big twist. But and I'm sorry for bringing up Fight Club, but one thing that's interesting about Fight Club is that you forget that the big twist happens like 2/3 way through the movie, or even earlier, and after that there's still a shit ton more movie. So even if you get spoiled on the big twist, it doesn't actually ruin the movie, right? Ignoring whether Fight Club's a good movie to begin with, but whatever. Soylent Green's the same way. Even if you know the twist, it's a fucking great movie.
It really is. It's a classic.
It's a neo-noir sort of thriller set in a dystopian future. Well, I guess dystopia means false utopia, so it seems utopian. And it's this detective dude going on doing detective shit, and he's detectiving all sorts of things, right? But it's a rather complicated noirish plot. But at the end, he finds out that the food that everyone in this society eats is made of people. So he freaks out and is like, Soylent Green, it's people. Which is why it's really stupid that when Tech Bros decided to invent their stupid Tech Bro shit, they called it Soylent. They're like, it's a fun reference. And I'm like, that's an extremely upsetting reference. Clearly only somebody who's an actual sociopath would want to name their product this.
Unfortunately, I hear it's really good and it works really well, so it'll probably stick around for a while with its unfortunate name.
Exactly. So anyway, that's what happens in this game. Although when I played it when I was like 13, I hadn't heard of the movie Soylent Green.
Did you think that Soylent Green was a Xenogears reference?
No, it's not that I thought it's not that I thought I had a feeling it was probably referencing something because it was just so ham-fisted. But I went online and it was like, oh, this is referencing a movie called Soylent Green. And I was like, cool. And then I watched the movie and I was like, this movie owns.
My parents are both big sci-fi nerds and big movie nerds. So I knew about Soylent Green long before I ever watched it, but then my parents actually sat down with us and watched the movie together. They've always been really big on cultural literacy and things like that.
Yeah, my dad's a big fan of it too, but he never even watched it, which is interesting because he's also a big sci-fi nerd. But yeah, whatever. Me and my dad's big movie was Dark City, which is Also a fantastic movie. So anyway, after this point, a lot of shenanigans happens. They're like, oh, they're gonna dispose of the party in the solar system in 3 days. We gotta go get them. Then Faye is a total dipshit and is like yelling, like, we gotta save our friends. We gotta save our friends, Ellie. What?
This is Faye we're talking about.
So he's like yelling, and Ellie's like, Faye, shut the fuck up, calm down. He's like, Ellie, we gotta save our friends. And our friends, those people on the hologram, they're our friends. They're our friends because we're also the infiltrators.
Do you mean our companions?
Anyway, so he just won't stop hooting and hollering and rooting and tooting and yeeting. So the nearby guards, of course, are like, hey, all those other intruders. And then Ellie's like, Faye, you idiot. Now they're onto us because you wouldn't stop yelling. So you run off and you have this fun little, the third sewer dungeon in the game because why would you want just one sewer dungeon or 0 sewer dungeons when you could have 3 sewer dungeons?
3 of them, yeah. All the sewer dungeons.
I actually like this dungeon a lot, though, because it's one of those classic tropes where there's no random battles. You're running along the level, and there's something chasing you. And every time it gets to you, you have to fight a battle. So technically, if you run a little faster or stretch out your arms farther in one fine morning, the more you beat on... boats against the current, the fewer random battles you'll have to fight, which is nice. So, I don't know. It's fun. Anything interesting to say about this part, Eli?
Nah,
you just go. You just go.
Yeah, you go through it.
This is the first part in the game where dungeons aren't interrupted every 5 fucking seconds by cutscenes. Well, I guess Babel Tower was this way as well. So I actually really like pretty much all the dungeons, but it actually is like, here's an hour where nothing happens. And then everything happens.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize that they were so much dungeon because nothing happens. And I'm watching the cutscene cut of Xenogears, and so like it'll show like key items that they find and like important boss battles and stuff like that. But most of the time it's just cutscenes, and so it just went on to the next part, and I was just like, okay, this really wasn't that long. And then in the group chat, they're just like, oh my god, this dungeon is so crazy long.
Yeah. So at any rate, hold on, let's look. Well, never mind. I have some more screenshots about some cool graphical shit that I found impressive, but whatever. Oh yeah, when Ellie is like, "Hey, we got to go save our friends," Faye's like, "How?" And she's like, "I don't know." And then Faye goes, "Don't be a snot. You haven't thought anything out at all." Which is like, Faye, that's interesting coming from you. I mean, he is right. It's actually funny because Faye's a dumbass this whole chapter, but the thing is, Ellie is not above sinking to his level of dumbassness. Maybe that's why they're meant to be. That's why they're meant to be together. It turns out that when push comes to shove, she's also a dumbass. It's pretty freaking funny.
Yeah, I will say that you said that their love story is a good one, and I see it everywhere that people are like, the truest love in JRPG is Faye and Ellie. But so far, I don't ship them even at all. Like they're completely incompatible. Like
I actually think that they are very compatible, but they're more just like in more of like a BFFs kind of way. Like they seem to have a really good time being dumbasses together, but there's certainly not like any
chemistry or anything,
erotic tension or anything like that.
Yeah.
Even in this scene later where they're both naked, there's like no sexual tension at all.
Not at all.
But I feel like everyone else in the game is shipping them. You notice that? Like all the NPCs are like, oh yeah, or all the other party members in cutscenes are like, oh yeah, Ellie and Faye. Oh yeah, Ellie's the most important person to Faye. Oh yeah, Faye is really important to Ellie. Oh yeah, Ellie and Faye. And I'm just like, where are y'all getting this?
Later on, Saita even turns to Ellie, who has had 7 cutscenes with Faye, and it's like, since you know Faye the most, ignoring Bart, who's been there the whole time, and Saitan, who has lived with Faye for the last 3 years, still is like, yep. Ellie, you obviously know Faye the best.
You should go do the thing. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. I think that in this chapter their chemistry really does start to appear, but it's maybe just because they're both weirdos. It's kind of like how Tidus and Yuna are in FF10. It's like they're both huge fucking dorks, and that's why they're cute together. Because they're the only person who doesn't think that the other is a weird, awkward dork. So anyway, you go through a bunch of shenanigans. Does anything happen between here and hanging out with Ellie's family? I don't think so, right? You just
I don't think
running.
so.
Yeah, so you're just running. I said it missed a lot, lol, in all caps, but I guess not. I think there might have been like a cutaway scene with Brain Ball or something like that.
I think there might have been.
But, those scenes make no sense anyway, right?
Yeah. Even now, when they're starting to like have answers in them, I'm like, I'm going to wait until Saitan explains this at the end of the chapter.
Yeah, because, oh my god, Saitan will definitely always come through when it comes to explaining things. Holy moly. We find out this chapter.
Like, he literally came through and explained Disc 1 at the end of this chapter.
In conclusion, Disc 1 is a land of contrasts. I'm going to make that reference every single episode, aren't I? It's a really apropos. So anyway, so you get to this really cool part where you pop out of the third sewer dungeon in the game, and you find a random house, and Ellie's like, "Oh yeah, we're in first class level now. This is the residential area." And Faye's like, "I'm really scared. We should really not be here. This is not gonna work." And then Ellie's like, "Oh no, it's cool. This is my house." So you go into Ellie's house, and Ellie's quote unquote mom is there. And you have this really cool scene where she's like, "You never call me. Who's this boy?" And she's just like, it's just another officer from the other side of Solaris. You don't know him. And you have a good old chill time, like it seems that Ellie has a good relationship with her family. Like it's really just like to me, it felt like it captured like when you go home just for a couple of days from college, and you have if you're like me and you're fortunate enough to have a very functional and loving family, and they're just like, "Oh man, take a shower, I'll cook dinner, it's gonna be great. Oh, you brought some dude, cool, that's fine. I'm definitely not going to bust out my calipers or anything. Make sure that he's appropriate. Make sure he's not a lower class citizen or anything like that. His eye color is a little weird. Whatever, it's fine. I'm not going to judge. That's what happens when you go off to college. You mix. So you go to Ellie's room, and she has a shower in the middle of her room. It's a giant glass shower in the middle of her freaking bedroom. Everything's chrome in the future, by the way.
I really got like Aegis' bedroom vibes when you go in, and then it was a shower and not like some weird back to tank thing, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Oh yeah.
No, she's just insanely bougie and has this crazy glass cylindrical shower in the middle of her damn bedroom, which is it's like a very much everything's chrome in the future situation. Everything is like featureless and I don't know. It's cool. She takes a shower and she's like, "Faye, you better look away." And of course he does. And then she's like, "Okay, now it's your turn."
You fucking stink. You haven't bathed since
you
Lahan.
You haven't bathed literally since I think they allude to that, but it's like, yeah, no, you haven't bathed the entire game. And the funny thing is, Faye's like, "Nah, I'm fine." And Ellie's like, "No, Faye, I know you're from a small podunk town where you shower once every 2 months, but like you need to shower." So he goes in there, and first of all, Ellie's like, "I'll look away," and then she totally doesn't, and she just turns around and starts looking at his butt,
and she's like, and Faye's like, "You said you were looking away." She's like, "I'm not looking, I'm just adjusting something." And then in parentheses, she's like, "It seems Faye has a cute side." And I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
Especially if she mean his personality or his butt, right? Or both. Isn't it always both?
It's always both. But I was like, because I don't feel like they've earned this truest love across the centuries or whatever, her suddenly just like checking out his butt was the grossest fucking thing to me. I was like, that's your brother.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like she invited him into her room and kind of makes him take a shower, and then she's like, "All right, I'm gonna look at your butt." It's very, I don't know, especially given the class difference, and that he is literally the kind of person that they tend to make into slaves. It's like, okay, Ellie, you got some internalized stuff going on here. Right? What else happens in this scene? They just shoot the shit. It's good stuff. The cute side to him, the looking at his butt, No, there's another thing that happens here that's very important. Oh, it's not important at all. But it's important for me to say. He's like, man, this shower is amazing. It's so advanced. It sure beats the tub. It sure beats the doc's tub back in Lahan. And I'm like, wait, so when you were back in Lahan, if you had to go to take a shower, you had to climb to the top of the fucking mountain and bathe inside Tan's tub. He's the only one who had a bath.
And
Jesus
then
Christ.
you would have to climb down the
redneck.
mountain after your bath and roll in your bath again.
Yeah. So,
There was no point to bathing.
so that's a really great little bit of world building that I feel like they kind of buried the lead there with this entire game. It's like we're 40 minutes in, we're 40 hours in, and we just now found out that Saitan owned the only bathtub in Lahan Village. Even bigger dick move now that he lives on top of a fucking mountain.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not important at all. But I thought it was actually the most important scene in the entire video game because of that reason. After that, Ellie's like, I'm going to hack into my dad's computer. He's the top ranking general. He'll know where our buddies are. Mm-hmm. So she hacks the mainframe. And then her dad comes in, obviously right on cue, and is like, what are you doing hacking the mainframe? And then there's a scene that I thought really hits. He pulls a fucking gun on Faye, and he's like, I'm going to shoot Faye. And Ellie's like, no, don't. He's my friend. And he's like, fuck off. He's clearly an intruder. No daughter of mine. That's basically the gist of it. And then he like calls the cops, and he's like, cops, get over here. I found an intruder trying to steal my shit. But then there's this dramatic scene where like Ellie steps in front of Faye and she's like, you're going to have to shoot me. And he's like, well, I'm obviously not going to shoot you. That would be ridiculous. And then, but then he's going to shoot Faye anyway or something. And then the mom gets in the way. But then Ellie is like, you're not my real mom. And the mom gets really, really hurt because it turns out she's not Ellie's real mom. Mm-hmm. They have a maid who is Ellie's real mom, and the maid's like over there, like she's an NPC. You can talk to her earlier in the scene in the house. And then the dad is like, "Don't tell your mom she's not your real mom. That's a really, really terrible thing to do." Which he's right. That is a terrible, terrible thing to say. Mm-hmm. And then it goes on for a bit, and there's a whole lot of emotions. And then eventually the dad is like, you know what, whatever, Ellie, I want you to follow your own path. Faye, get the fuck out of here.
What I think is hilarious is when she's like, that's not my real mom. And Faye's like, what? She turns to Faye. She's like, haven't you noticed that my skin color and hair color are different from Solarians? And I'm like, no, I haven't actually. You're both white. Yeah. So whatever.
If you're not a real Solarian, how come you're white?
Oh my God, Faye, you can't just ask her why she's white.
And also, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Also, you know, she's like, "You're not your real mom," and Faye's like, "Mom, you mean your brother?" And So anyway, the dude's like, "I called off the cops. It's fine. Just fucking get out of here." I'll tell him that I think he like breaks the window, and he's like, "I'll tell him that the robber ran away or whatever." Mm-hmm. But he's gonna get in huge. No, sorry, he's not gonna get in trouble yet. He's just like, "I'll tell him the robber ran away." And Ellie's like, I'll go with you. And the dad's like, no, you're not going to go with him because you're my daughter and you need to stay here and be safe. The funny thing is, Faye's like, yeah, that's Ellie's a good idea. Got a point. but it's not even like, well, we interpret it differently. Y'all were Sam was interpreting it like, oh, you're a girl. You should be safe here. But I thought it was more like Faye's like, Ellie, your family is clearly very important to you. So you should, I don't want to take that from you. And Ellie's like, Faye, what gave you the impression that my family was important to me? It's like, you are misreading this situation, Faye. It's fine. I'm 100% fine with going with you. This is not a huge sacrifice. And he's like, Faye, you know what, Ellie? It's okay if we go a different path. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to sacrifice your life. She's like, no, Faye, I literally don't give a shit. It's fine.
And then also, neither of them brought up the fact that our plan is here to come and destroy this place. So if you stay with your parents, you will fucking die.
Yeah,
by me instead of by them.
Yeah, they keep pulling this thing where it's like, these are literally the most awful racial supremacist, fascist, evil people like on the planet, like way worse than maybe like any actual existing Earth real historical society. It's like any historical fascist society times 100, and they keep pulling this whole like, well, we're just on different sides.
Yeah,
you know, like I wouldn't want you to leave your family. You've got your life. I've got my life. It's just too bad. We're just star-crossed lovers. Real Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. In a Romeo and Juliet situation, if the Capulets are actually Nazis, then Juliet should just leave the Capulets and join the Montagues. Like, it's fine. It's okay.
We just disagree. It's just a disagreement.
It's a fair and balanced debate, okay?
And the funny thing is, I feel like Ellie gets that, but Faye, idiot that he is, does not get that. It's...
No.
Yeah.
It's dumb. I think maybe Takashi and the writers like the idea of it being just people on different sides of an issue, but then he also just really likes dystopian sci-fi, so he went too hard on the whole they're evil Nazis thing on accident. Anyway, it's funny.
Yeah, because like Starcrossed worked up until they like firebombed Kislev. Like up until then, it's like, oh, they're on opposite sides of a conflict, and then it's like, oh wait, no, they're really heckin' evil. Ellie should just leave.
which she does just leave.
Yeah,
and no one has a problem with it except for Faye. You could read it as like, you know, Faye never had a family, so he thinks that family is really, really important and doesn't want to take that from Ellie, but also he's just too stupid to understand the situation.
Yeah. And he never had a family because he had 7 dads.
Yeah. Or more even. Dads that are also him. We'll get to that later. You know what? Again, he's like Goku, because Goku, remember, like the whole thing with Dragon Ball is that Goku can never hate anybody. So every single villain, after they defeat the villain who tried to like destroy the entire planet or enslave it for their master space race, Goku's like, okay, I defeated you. You want to join the party and be my friend? And that's why the cast of protagonists in Dragon Ball just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because most of the antagonists just become protagonists because Goku can't not be friends with everybody he meets. Right. Apparently, even fucking Frieza ends up being good in Dragon Ball Super. Because
I was about to say like up until even Frieza, where he had to kill him, was like the last time, because like Vegeta even joined the party and stuff, and I'm like, oh wait, no, Frieza comes back and is supposedly like a heckin' good guy at the end. So
even like Kid Buu joins the party. Like it's I respect him so much. He just has this magnetism. He's like he just really believes in restorational justice. You know. He's a big believer in that sort of thing instead of the punitive system, and I respect that. Anyway,
this isn't Dragon Ball Cast yet.
Yeah, so Faye fucking runs off, and he meets Saitan. It's kind of interesting how he meets him, but not that interesting. So whatever. Saitan basically figured out where Faye was and meets up with him, and then they're like, in order to rescue the people, we're going to have to go through the trash chute, because that hasn't happened enough in this game. So you go through the garbage chute. At some point, you meet back up with Ellie again. Right. You get to the garbage chute, and it's like, oh, we need a first-class pass to get in here, or a military pass to get in here. And Titan's like, I don't have one. And Faye's like, did you not think about this? And Titan's like, I just thought we'd figure it out. So even Titan's a dumbass here. But then Ellie's dad shows up and is like, hey, here's the card key. It's fine. I want my daughter to be happy. Is this before or after he gets like fucking arrested? Oh,
I think it's
before, presumably.
Yeah, I think it's when he gets arrested.
Well, anyway, at some point, what happens is, even though he called off the cops, turns out not the cops, but like the special forces show up to the house, and they're like, where's Faye? And he's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, where the fuck is Faye? And Ellie. And we're arresting Ellie. And then he basically stands up to them and is like, I'm not letting you arrest my daughter or her weird, strange skull-shaped friend Faye. And they're like, you're going to be demoted from your rank and your family's going to be ruined, and you might also be like reprogrammed into a third-class citizen. And he's like, whatever, fuck off. So that's cool.
It was
he
real
takes a
sweet.
stand. Although later somebody says, you know what, they said that he would have all of these other consequences, but honestly, he's a very popular, beloved, high-ranking official. He'll probably get off easy. So I'm like, that's good. I'm glad they have nepotism.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to be in a dystopian society, you at least need to have some nepotism going around.
Yeah, to protect the one person who decides to be good. Oh, God. Sorry, I'm just looking at my screenshots. When you're in the shower room, Faye's like, what the fuck is with your weird circular shower that mists you all over and is fancy? And she's like, this is normal. And Faye goes, ... parentheses, it's not normal, ... parentheses. It's really fucking funny. Also, when you're running around the town with Faye after running away from Ellie, you talk to all the NPCs, and they talk in gibberish because he doesn't speak Solarian.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh, did y'all not try that?
I did. I couldn't try
I didn't
it.
talk to anyone.
Yeah, during oh yeah, you couldn't. Yeah, during that brief part after you leave Ellie's house before you meet Saitan, any NPC or signage that you click on is just like £, exclamation point, question mark, @ you know what I mean? So
nice.
Either he can't understand them or they're all cursing constantly.
I do remember that when the Emperor was giving his speech that Ellie was like whispering a translation to Faye. So I knew that there was non-understanding at some point, but
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's cute. I dig it. Anyway, yeah, then you find out that Soylent Green is people. You're in this dungeon, and you're just going through the trash chute, and then you're like, I'm hungry. And all of a sudden, there's some cans on the ground, and Faye and Ellie are just like, hey, let's eat these cans. And Saitan's like, hey, guys, before you eat those cans, I want you to...
Maybe don't.
No, he doesn't even say that, though. He's just like...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's just like, I want you to really remember that you ate these cans. And they're like,
yeah.
Okay. Why mean okay, but we're still gonna eat them though. And he's like, okay. And then one screen later, you get to the room where you find out that the stuff in the cans, which again was not an established plot point before this. It's not like we already knew that they live off of these cans. We just saw the cans 5 seconds ago. They're like, oh no, the cans was people. And they're like, oh fuck, this is terrible. And first of all,
which, like, why are they not just, like, immediately barfing?
Yeah, also, why did Saitan let them eat the fucking cans?
Because while they're eating it, he's like, all right, remember this. And then they get to the door, and he, like, big arms to keep them from going in. He's like, all right, before we go into the store, I want you to remember those cans that you just ate. Remember? I want you to feel bad about this. Open the door. Oh, man, Soylent Green is people.
It's
and they're just like...
people.
And then Faye's just like...
What's behind door number 1?
Faye's just like, I thought I tasted some people in there, but I wasn't certain.
Faye's from a very, 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 very backwards town. He's actually used to this. Yeah. Sometimes the crops, you have a bad season, and sometimes things have to happen. Whereas Ellie's like, that's good people.
Soylent Green is my kind of people.
Yeah, so here's what it is, okay? It's not exactly like Soylent Green. Soylent Green is just like, this is a utopian society where we solved everyone's hunger problems, and it turns out it's people. It seems to me, or maybe they just didn't explain it very well plot-wise here, but it seems to me that it's not like everyone fucking eats these cans. Like, you had never even seen the cans or heard of them until 5 seconds ago. I think it's maybe just like, you go to the supermarket, and it's like, you got your beef, you got your chicken, you got your vegetarian options. Oh, and there's some Soylent here too. Okay, maybe we'll try that out. Maybe, I don't know.
I've never heard of that before. I don't pay attention to anything in
I don't know.
culture.
I feel Ellie's just dumb. I definitely got the vibe that it was like more ubiquitous than just like.
Well, also they don't even call
Tofurkey.
themselves Soylent. Actually, it's the name of the name of this entire laboratory is called the Soylent System. So they don't even say like the shit they make is actually called Soylent.
Yeah.
So the way I read it and why it is a little bit different than the movie, not like it matters, but like I feel like it's more like the point of this lab is to do fucked up experiments and make wells and do research on brains and try to create the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog, and also like create Omnigears. And basically the bad guys are insanely into genetic engineering, like Nazis tend to be. So here's a lab where they do all their fucked up research in a variety of different capacities. And like one of the side effects of it is like when they're done experimenting on something, they'll grind it up and make Soylent out of it. So it's like it seemed to me it's like, it seems to me that the Soylent thing's actually like a more minor aspect of it that they make food.
Yeah.
It's odd. I feel like they were trying to cram too much in. It's like it's fucked up in every possible way. You know, it's not like part of their economy. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like, yeah, it makes it more fucked up, but I don't think it makes it any different. Like they could have just walked in and saw people like torn open, like being dissected or whatever, and it would have been,
which you do later anyway.
Yeah, which would have been like enough of a oh shit type moment without being like, oh shit, that looks delicious.
I bet that maybe that's how it was originally, because we're about to go through Krellian's lab, which it's this whole long section where you're just seeing all the fucked up experiments and being creeped out. Maybe they were already doing that, and then someone, Takahashi or someone else, was just like, wait guys, what if we also just made this a Soylent Green reference on top of what we were already doing in the plot anyway. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Because this scene lasts like 5 minutes and then it's never mentioned again.
Yeah, and then the editor was in the bathroom at the time.
Yes. Or rather, the editor was on one of his 6 days off out of the week. Yeah. Because the editor comes into work 1 day a week, where he does things like say, hey, take out the random battles in Babel Tower. Yeah. Okay, going back on my vacation. I have 15 weeks of PTO, which is great. Apparently they have a lot of strong labor power in Taco. They're
in this hypothetical
strong
world
unions.
we created.
Extreme right winger voice. So the unions ruined the game. Oh wait, no, the union. Yeah, it's the union's fault. Anyway, yeah, so then there's the longest goddamn dungeon in the world where you go through the Soylent shit, and then you go through a creepy lab, and then you get to the end of the creepy lab, and you think you're done, but then you go through a short hallway, and you get the graphics change, and now we're in a different creepy lab.
You're in the true creepy lab.
You go through like 3 different kinds of creepy lab graphics here, and there's a bunch of one-off rooms that you can go into that might have a treasure chest inside, but it's always just a fucking health up, but then also every room has like unique assets where you see like whatever kind of fucked up experiments are going on in there. That's kind of cool.
Come here. You want to say hi?
Did you guys?
Oh, is it time for Scarlet Cast?
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
The best part of every weekday.
Hi.
Hi, Scarlet. Hello.
Scarlet, do you remember when you gave me a hug?
Trick or treating?
I love you. Oh, I don't know what you thought you said. Say bye-bye.
Tell him trick or treat.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Bye-bye.
What a sweetie pie. What a sweetie pie.
I think my ovaries just reactivated.
Oh no.
Shit. This is a problem. Tear it out. Take it out. Get rid of it.
Oh god.
That is the funniest, like, most fucked up thing.
Reactivated. I'm gonna call your doctor. You need to change up.
Yeah. Doctor, please.
This again.
Please help me.
So yeah, Scarlet's good. So yeah, in this dungeon, is there any important plot stuff except for at the end when you talk with Saitan? I think that's it, right?
I'm not coming up with anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, you go through the dungeon. You see a lot of stuff, but it's like whatever, right? Also, there's this one freaking mob in this dungeon, that weird fucked up blobby thing that has like 10 gazillion hit points. None of these battles are hard, but God, they take forever. I started skipping them after a while. I was just running away every time.
Yeah.
So you get to the end, and this game's interesting because this dramatic sort of climax of the game, in a sense, the climax of the first section of the majority of the game, it doesn't have like a boss battle at the end. It kind of just like peters out from a gameplay perspective, because things happen that are beyond your control, and no boss battle would fix things. So there's not a climactic fight or anything at the end. You're just going along, and you get to this door, and you're like, we can't open the door. And then Saitan's like, And then the door opens, and Faye's like, well, that's convenient. And Saitan's like, yeah, convenient. The door just opens. It's crazy. And then you go through, and Saitan starts explaining the plot of the game to you. And he explains just everything about the Soylent system and what the Project M is, which is like basically the bad guys are trying to resurrect God because the bad guys are from space. That comes later, actually, but he explains a lot of shit. He explains a lot of shit that he re-explains later, so I'll get to it later. But the important part is that Ellie is like, hold on a second, Saitan. How do you know every single thing? And Saitan's like, what do you mean? And Ellie's like, well, just, I'm a first-class officer citizen. I know a lot of things, but you know all of the things. Also, that door opened. That's a little weird, right? This is the most high-security place ever. They wouldn't just leave that fucking door unlocked. That's weird. And Faye's like, Ellie, what are you talking about, man? This is Saitan. We're bros. Like, it's fine. Everything's fine. What are you talking about?
And then Ellie became, like, a real character and was just like, no, Faye, shut up. Like, this is important.
Yeah,
like
seriously.
Saitan, you doing something. Like, what you fucking doing?
Yeah, Ellie's like, look, I know I should have figured this out 40 fucking hours ago, but at least I'm figuring it out now, okay? Faye, you idiot, you utter fool. It's actually really funny how much of a dumbass Faye is, and actually very cool how, because Saitan's trying to do the whole dodging the question, just like, we don't have time to talk about this. Like, we don't have time to talk about this. We really need to hurry. Like, we gotta go. We gotta save your friends. Like, we'll worry about it later. And Ellie's like, no, we are talking about this right now. But anyway, in the middle of that, then all the lights go off. And the lights come back on, and Ellie and Saitan are gone. And then and then the game has 4 hours of cutscenes.
Pretty much.
At this point, yeah.
This is where I was, because I was watching on the thing, and I saw that I had gotten to, on the guide, the last bit of playable stuff for the disc. I'm like, okay, I probably have 15-20 minutes of stuff left. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for where the disc ends in the middle of this video, but no, it was another hour of video, and the disc ended at the end of it.
What happened was the video, the disc ended at the end of the video that Sam was watching, but he was like, surely the disc must end sometime before that, because that is literally an entire hour. So he asked me, does the disc end here? And I'm like, no, it ends at this part. And he's like, oh, I guess it is just the entire fucking video.
It was insane.
So there's a lot of plot dump here. What happens is Faye gets captured, and he's suspended in midair in this really fucking weird room. I'm like, who would build this room for just this extremely hyper-specific purpose? You know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a weird design room too. Like, the walls are chrome blue tiles on all the walls and floors. And
I think they're TV screens, and they're displaying the test screen or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they pull up a
That's
test
how I read
pattern.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just like the brain ball, right?
Yeah. And so you have all the TV screens everywhere, and then Faye is strapped into this chair that's supported 15 feet above the floor with cables to each corner of the room. And it's why?
Yep.
Why not just handcuff him to the table with one TV screen in front of him?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the plot dump earlier that I kind of skipped past is mostly not that important, but Saitan does have one line. He's like, yeah, so Faye's like, what's up with this place, dude? And Saitan's like, yeah, this place was not meant to be seen since the origin of time. Yeah. and Faye's like, the origin of time? And he's like, yeah, 10,000 years ago, apparently this has existed since then. Humans didn't make it, I guess. It's just this weird labyrinth. It's just a staple of the universe. And that's when he's like, yeah, Krellian and he says Krellian and the Emperor and the Brain Ball are all literally 10,000 years old or some shit. Actually, I think Krellian is only 5,000 years old, but whatever, close enough. The humans did not come from Earth; they came from space. And he doesn't say space because Faye's tiny mortal brain wouldn't understand that what space is. And he's like, That's why there's no records of humans more than 10,000 years ago. Humans came from another world. The Emperor and the Gazel Ministry were the original people. But then when the big bad thing happened 300 years ago or whatever the fuck with the Diabolos, the Gazel Ministry's bodies got destroyed. And when that happened, their brains all got put into the brain ball. But the Emperor is still around and kicking. And and Krellians,
and I don't know if it's now or later, but he's like, but his body's a piece of shit, so they have to keep like giving him steroids to live.
Yeah,
and increase his lifespan and stuff.
Yeah. So you get all this damn plot, okay? And Faye is all like up in the chair, and Saitan's like, guess what? I'm evil. And Faye's like, oh no. And he goes on and on about how evil he is and how he his job was all along to keep an eye on Faye, because it turns out that, you know, those Gazel Ministries I mentioned 5 minutes ago, how they were they lost their bodies. Well, they need new bodies, and turns out that the entire last long amount of time of history, they've been doing all this genetic engineering and eugenics and shit with the surface dwellers to try and engineer people that have the special power called being animes. And
I should say, because we've only said anime since this thing started. It's actually anima.
It's anima or animus if it's a single one.
Yeah.
Animus if there's just one. There's the anima relics and then the animus, which are I think people, I guess. I don't know. But they're all. I mean, everything in this game is an anime.
Yeah, so it's just anime. So
they're animes.
I realized when I was cutting like 7 episodes of the podcast because I was so behind last week that we explicitly just called them anime relics.
Explicitly call them animes. Anime relic? Are we talking about Speed Racer?
Right.
Anyway, so basically your whole party are the animes, and they were engineered to be that way, to have the power, and they were all brought together through connivings, including a large part of that was Saitan, and all of them were brought together to be your party, and were brought together to Solaris, and they were brought specifically to the lab, just so that they could be captured, and then they can have the brain ball can upload their brains into these hot young new bodies. Right. Also, speaking of going to the lab, when Ellie is given Saitan what for, she lampshades the fact that the dungeon is too long. She's like, Saitan, in addition to everything else I just said, I feel like we took the long way around. Like, why did, like, there's clearly a much faster way to go. Why the fuck did we go all the goddamn way around? Like, why are we here? We don't need to be in Krellian's lab to get where we're trying to go. Why did we have to go this super long circuitous route with way too many battles? And that's when Satan's like,
and then the lights suddenly shut out and he doesn't have to explain himself.
Lights.
I really like how they talk about. She's like, I know the dungeon's too long. Fuck you. This is my game. I can make the dungeon too long if I want to. So anyway, yeah. So that's why they're here. They're here because he brought them there to be captured, to be made into new brain ball bodies for the various people. But not Faye. Faye's here for an unrelated reason. Faye was supposed to die. Like Saitan was supposed to guide Faye here and get all the other people together to get there, but also Faye himself is too dangerous. So that's why the assassin, like every time the bad guys tried to kill Faye, that wasn't a trick. They were trying to kill Faye. They just sucked because Ramses sucks and they were doing a bad job at it. So the fact that Faye is actually here is very annoying.
Would you say that Ramses is trash?
He is trash. Interesting you should say that. Yeah, so then we have a little this is where so Faye's like has a really good line here, actually. He's talking about how, like, God, I can't believe that the Gazel Ministry's been manipulating everything. They've been controlling everything. They're not just Nazi fascists, they're also eugenicists Nazi fascists, and they're controlling everything, not just to be bad, but to some end. And he's like, so he has a great line. He goes, you already own the world. What more do you want? Which I feel like is how I feel about, like, the Republicans.
Yeah.
Like, oh my fucking god. Like, geez, like everything, you already have everything you want, and yet you're still like, what if things were worse, actually? Anyway, so then Saitan says, well, what they do is they want to go to space. They just love space. They're like, space. Exactly. Humans are not originally from here. They don't want to just rule the world. They want to rule the galaxy, basically. So they want to get their new immortal bodies and become one with God. And God is actually a giant spaceship. And they want to become one with God and get on the spaceship and leave. And Faye's like, cool. So then we cut to Ellie, and Krellian. And Krellian gets real creepy. He's like, you're so beautiful. When I look at you, it reminds me of the beauty of nature and in molecular engineering and DNA. And Ellie's like, you're a creeper. And then he talks about how her DNA is weird and he doesn't know why. Something special about her DNA.
Yeah, and
which is kind of cool. And because the whole game, Faye's been special, and now she's special too.
Yeah, and there's this whole bit at first where they're explaining why they wanted Emeralda. And it's all sci-fi stupid. Like, he's like, look at this thing that you, of course, the player can't see because we didn't decide to give it a sprite or a model. But you see how beautiful it is? It used to be ugly, but because of nanotechnology, we learned how to make our artificial atoms smaller, and we can make whatever we want now. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's a lot of things and none of it matters.
Yeah. He's like, we construct, we construct, things at the atomic level. We used to only be able to construct things at the like maybe molecular or macromolecular level, but all the research we got from Esmeralda, we're now able to do like atom level construction and do this crazy engineering. So haha, our something evil plan something complete. And
it's just like, yeah, okay.
Cool. So then Saitan talks more with Faye about how fascism is good, actually. He's like, people need someone to control them, so they have direction in their lives. And I'm like, okay, as a tanky, I sort of agree, but not in the way that you're saying. Have either of y'all seen the movie Ex Machina?
I have not.
No.
Man, so... Well, exactly what happens in this game happens in Ex Machina. I'd say it's a reference because the movie actually came out later.
Yeah.
So Takahashi couldn't have been influenced by it. But anyway, the lights go out very, very, very conspicuously. And Saitan's like, all right, cool. Now that the lights are out, I can talk about what I really want to talk about. I didn't actually want to do evil villain monologue. I was just bullshitting until the lights went out. And I'm like, okay, well, now the lights went out, what's going to happen? Is it going to turn out Saitan's good? Turns out, not exactly. Turns out that what happens is id comes out. Mm-hmm. Id comes out of Faye, and Saitan's like, okay, now me and id can talk because the lights are off, and we're gonna have a little one-on-one. We don't get to see what they talk about because not only do the bad guys with their cameras not get to see what happens, neither do we, the player.
Yeah. It's okay. We get to see it in about an hour in the next scene.
Exactly. We'll see it fucking later. Yeah. So then Ramses goes to Ellie's room and it's like, tell me where Faye is. And she's like, no. And he's like, where is he? And she's like, I'm not going to tell you, you creeper. Why are you so obsessed with him? Then Faye wakes up and he's on the ground and Saitan's good again, I guess.
He was playing like a double long con or something.
So Bart and Billy are there. He's like, yeah, I freed Bart and Billy and Faye. It's chill. I actually had to bring you to the lab and had to get you captured so that you could see the truth about all the evil shit Krellian does for yourself. And I'm like, I
do not blame Faye for his reaction whatsoever.
Yeah, Faye gets to be a person here. He's like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, Bart and Billy are being really unreasonable about it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Faye's been asleep for Faye's been knocked out for maybe like a while. I don't know. So maybe Bart and Billy have had a while to figure things out already. But yeah, no, Faye's like, no, Saitan fucking sucks. He just evil villain monologued me about how evil he is. Let's kill his ass. And Bart's like, dude, Faye, come on, it's Saitan. Like, come on, we all know. It's chill. It's come on, you know Saitan. But yeah, so he's like, I had to get you captured to see the truth for yourself. And I'm like, couldn't you have just explained all the bad shit instead of having to take us through this long lab dungeon?
Right.
No.
Also, apparently, he needed the lab to remove everyone's limiters.
Which
so
is
that happened
different than the limiters that we removed in Shavat, and
it's an even more limiter.
Yeah, he says that like right before the player will say it out loud to their PS1, then Faye will say it in a text box, and then Saitan is like, no, the ones in Shavat were like your physical limiters, but you still couldn't believe in yourself hard enough to succeed until I removed this limiter. It's a psychological limiter.
Yeah. Also, interesting little bit of plot bit. Ellie doesn't have a limiter, which is apparently completely unprecedented. Like every single, even Solaris citizens, even Class A citizens have a limiter. Not a limiter to suppress their level 7 APs, but but a limiter that makes them just, subservient to the leadership in the Gazel Ministry. And Ellie doesn't even have that.
And also, like, I don't know if this is just referencing the id of it all or if there's something else, but she's like, oh, well, since we were knocked out and they were removing our limiters, what about Faye? Did you remove Faye's limiter? And he goes, literally, it goes, ... Sure? Question mark.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I definitely remove phase limiter. Why wouldn't I remove phase limiter? It's not like it's keeping something very, very, very dangerous back. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hasn't really been explained yet, but yeah, it's like they're so bad at lying in this game. Like
so bad.
Anytime, like, did you not think that was going to be asked of you? Like, come on. He's like, yeah, def. Also, like, Saitan's been playing the long double, triple, quadruple agent game this whole game, so why is he not able to lie better in this moment? He should have just been like, I definitely remove his limiter. But, yeah, also, another thing here is... Oh, what was I going to say? When we were talking about Ellie earlier, that scene from like a zillion hours ago in the game when they tried to make Ellie take the special drug drive or whatever, and then she flipped out and killed people. Turns out that wasn't just normal flipping out and killing people. That was special flipping out and killing people.
This was advanced flipping out.
Advanced flipping out and killing people. Her power level was over 400. And Krellian's like, what, 400? So again, after a whole game of Faye being special, turns out Ellie's also special, and I think it's does the word anti-type ever come up?
Not that I recall.
Okay, well, at some point, people are going to start calling Ellie the anti-type all the time. I guess it hasn't happened yet.
It may have. It sounds familiar. It may have been in a throwaway. But
yeah, in a brain ball scene. They also call Faye the Contact. They start calling him the Contact all the time. That's a reference to some psychologist. Maybe it's Jung. I don't remember which one. One of the psychologists that Takahashi read the Wikipedia pages of talks about the.
You mean it's not a reference to the darling DS RPG named Contact?
No.
It should be.
Obviously, all the id super ego stuff. That's all straight out of Jung. But I forget who does the Contact anti-type stuff. I'm not. I mean, any psychologist before the 20th century is a hack, so why does it matter? They didn't actually know how anything worked. They were just guessing. Even today, it's kind of knowing how things work and kind of guessing, because the brain is hard to analyze
with a brain.
With the brain, exactly. A system cannot really analyze itself. That's kind of the fundamental problem. Anyway, they all escape. They rescue Ellie. Bart and Faye and Billy rescue Ellie, and they meet up with the gang. Saitan goes with Jesse and destroys the gate. Jesse's just in the middle of this big fucking Star Wars firefight.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally firing off screen, and there's bullets like pew 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 pew. And then Saitan's just like, hey, sup, Jesse? And Jesse's like, oh my god, Saitan, let's destroy the fucking gate already. Jesus Christ. I've apparently been shooting these guys for like hours.
I imagine that Maria dropped him off. He pulled out his gun and started shooting. And that's just where he's been for the past like week.
Yeah.
Solaris.
He's just like, like 3 straight days of just like taking cover behind a chest high wall and shooting enemies. Apparently at this point, even though Saitan said that he's bad, but then actually he's good, he's actually still taking orders from Kane.
He mentions that Kane is the one who told him to be a double, triple super agent. He says that Kane is actually a good guy and is trying to turn on the Gassel ministry.
Which is interesting because he's, the emperor of the bad guys, but maybe he's good actually.
Because like how Ellie said that Krellian is the actual leader and Krellian is definitely serving the brain ball. And so it's like, Kane, the puppet head, is getting it into his brain that he deserves to be king and will actually pursue a presidential election in 2016.
Exactly. I mean, my confusion here is performative because, by the end of the chapter, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
All makes sense in relative Xenogears terms.
Yeah. All makes sense.
All right, sure. So after this point, there's a lot of drama llama. Again, it's just straight up cutscenes at this point. You all meet back up at like this bridge where it's a bridge where Maria is gonna like fly and get all of you, and you can escape because you destroyed the gate. You did what you came here for, so you're gonna leave and blow shit up, right? You get to the gate though, and all of a sudden, Ellie's parents are there, which is cool.
Yeah.
Hammer is like, oh yeah, I went ahead and got your parents because they decided that they didn't want to be bad, or at least didn't want to die. And Ellie's like, all right, cool. Are we going to put them on like a ward tribunal or something? And they're like, nah, they're good. They're cool. They're your mom and dad, your pops, your mom and pops. And then which bad guy shows up here? I don't even remember.
So Graf and Miang show up, but that might be a later one.
There's so many goddamn bad guys in this game.
I think this first one, it's not a bad guy. It's just Hammer turns on them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Duh. That great scene. Yeah, of course. So it turns out Hammer's bad actually, and it's this really schmaltzy scene where Hammer is like, Ellie, I can't allow you to leave. So he grabs Ellie and like has a gun to her head or whatever, and he's like, I'm gonna do it. And he's like,
he mentions something that sounds interesting, and then he dies, so we'll never actually know. But I don't actually think he dies. So, so he mentions like, oh, I'm going to take Ellie because they experimented on us and they have a cure to fix me from being a rat boy type thing is alluded to in the moment. And then mom comes over and is just like, stop that right now, mister.
Yeah, she talks him down. She's like, you are not taking my daughter away. That is... Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. She wags her finger very crossly. Also, it should be mentioned she's really hot.
Oh, yeah.
She is.
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Hammer does it. Because Hammer's a weakling. He's a sissy boy, right? So she's like, you give Ellie back right now, mister. And he's like, okay. So Ellie walks over to Ellie's mom and away from Hammer. But then Hammer basically feels like shit because he's a loser who can't accomplish anything. So in his sort of confusion and despair at having failed in his one job, he actually shoots Ellie's mom. And it's real sad.
It's real sad.
Yep. What happens? Oh yeah, and then
why do the hot ones always have to die?
Then Hammer exactly, and then Hammer just runs off because he clearly feels terrible about what he's done. So he just fucking runs off. He's like, I'm outie. Exit stage left. And so then that's cool. So then they're like, okay, well we can still escape even though Ellie's sad about her mom.
And that's I think when Graf and Miang show up.
So then
well, technically, Graf and the executioner masked mysterious girl show up.
Yeah, exactly. So Graf and a masked woman shows up, who we've seen a few times before, and we didn't know who it was. Turns out it was Miang all along. There wasn't another villain; it was just Miang. And you have a boss battle that, for me, was not hard, but it sure took a long time.
Yeah, I could tell it took a long time because in the video I was doing, they showed part of this fight and also were showing off the 7 AP death blows, and they showed off like everybody's like 5 different ones, and I'm like, oh, okay, this just took forever for you to get around to doing all of these level 7 death blows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, for the first time in the entire damn game, you can finally like change party members at will.
Yeah.
Instead of having to find the one NPC in the one town that lets you do it, which is super annoying. Now you can finally change party members anywhere there's a blue spinny save point, which which is always right next to the yellow spinny save point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. I didn't use it, but it's still nice.
Yeah, it is helpful.
Yeah.
I used it
The
a couple times.
in-game thing is stupid. I don't even remember what it is, but it's like, oh, instead of just uploading your memories to the memory cube, this one can like transmit your data so that you can teleport in between these.
No, they don't even say that. They just say like this lets you communicate with each other. But like it's FF7 does the same thing. It's a cell phone in FF7. It's like, oh, use the cell phone. So it's like the idea is that your party's in one place on the world map and the rest of the characters are somewhere else. But if you have a cell phone, you can call them and say, hey, send Tifa over here and I'll send y'all Barrett. But how that manages to happen instantaneously is not addressed. So here it's like you can communicate with each other. It's like, okay, communication I get, but we can apparently also change places. The communication was not actually the issue with this. Actually, it was the other part that was the issue, which is that we're in different locations. Okay, whatever, fine,
Whatever, it's fine.
Fucking whatever. But at least now you can become aware that a party member needs to be changed. So yeah, anyway, so you beat them because they're stupid and they run off. And then another sad thing happens where oh yeah, no, they're about to fuck you up. And then who should appear but Ellie's dad in a gear. And then he also gets wrecked by Graf. So both of Ellie's parents have died in like the space of about 10 minutes.
Just watch both her parents die.
It's good shit.
And she doesn't seem like super phased by it either. Like she's upset, but she's not like.
She's like, well, they were Nazis.
I would be devastated. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess if my parents were Nazis, I probably would be like, all right, that probably had to happen. And I'm sad that my parents are gone, but also they were Nazis.
Yeah, no, she's a trooper.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah, she's a real trooper. She manages to she's like, well, I mean, it's kind of like in Rogue Galaxy, right? Where Jasper's fucking dad dies, and then Kisala is like, come on, dude, your dad died. What the fuck? Who cares? We gotta go.
Right?
There's no time for being sad.
Yeah. Be sad later. Ellie doesn't need to have that because she's just like, yeah, I'll be sad later. It's fine. It's chill.
That's right. You can feel horrible once we get back to the temple.
Exactly.
That's a Steven Universe quote.
Yeah. I think I've seen that episode.
Okay.
Somehow I knew it was. Maybe I've seen a GIF of it. I knew it was a universe reference, regardless. So at any rate, yeah. So then Faye is a lot more upset than Ellie is about this. Faye's really upset about Ellie's two parents dying. So he goes, and it's id time again, baby. So
I have a big problem with this id time. Okay, so he goes id and summons his gear. And you see it in the first FMV of the game, which I asked Spiff, I'm like, is this the only FMV of the game? And then there's 3 more here in the next couple seconds. But and so you see Weltall turn into the red gear, which we totally knew. And then everyone in the Yggdrasil is like, oh shit, what's happening in a gear's moving by itself? Like, what's happening? And then he busts through the wall and it comes there. But that gear's been inside the Yggdrasil every other time that we've had to fight it with id. Why didn't it blow up the Yggdrasil all of those other times? Like, they're like, oh, yeah. They're like, oh, the Weltall's moving by itself. Well, that's okay. Let's open the door for it. But this time they're like, I don't know.
Maybe this makes a little bit of sense. When you were saying you have a complaint about this part being dumb, I thought you had. Well, there are many other complaints you could have had.
I mean, yes.
But yeah, so this particular complaint though, maybe it's like normally the id version of the Weltall just like, it goes through the normal procedure. It goes to the door, it hits in the button, it makes the ramp come down. But in this case, it didn't have fucking time for that. So it's just like gonna burst through the goddamn wall because I don't have time to go through the proper procedures. But yeah, also the plot, the storytelling gets all nonlinear here. It's weird. Like,
yeah,
you see the FMV, you see the Weltall, and you know it's happening. But then it like skips ahead to later, and then later they go back and explain what happened. And I'm like, look, like, it's not that complicated what happened. You could have just done it linearly. But anyway, what happens is id destroys the absolute goddamn out of the entire Solaris. Turns out they didn't even need to destroy the gate. They didn't need all of Shavat's army to attack it. They just needed one angry boy to destroy the ever-loving shit out of an entire society.
Who would win, an entire society or
one angry boy? Exactly. One dissociative boy. Yeah, so it just fucking wrecks the place, and all of the characters, because it doesn't care about the main characters, so all the characters like fall and are gonna die, but then like Maria catches half of them, and then like someone else catches like half of them. The point is they all end up being fine.
That had to still be kind of painful for them because like Seebsen is still made out of freaking metal.
Well, you know how that, but I mean,
unless maybe it's got pads on its hands or something to just for catching.
Well, that's
people.
how it's always been, like in movies, right? And comic books and cartoons, it's like if someone's falling at terminal velocity, but then someone catches them, they're fine.
Yeah.
The impact only matters if you hit the ground,
which is what physics would do.
Yep.
Yeah. Fuck physics.
Me and Sam, while we were chatting, had a brief disagreement over the film Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a very bad film.
No, it's so good.
But it does have one very good part, which isn't actually unique to the film. It came from the comic. But the point where he Spider-Man tries to do that shit, right? He tries to use his web to extremely last minute save somebody, catch somebody from the ground, and then the whiplash just snaps their neck and they die. Yeah. And
sorry, did I just spoil things?
Yeah, I was being vague, but it's fine. Who cares?
I figured it didn't matter if we spoiled it.
No,
because,
it's fine.
I mean, you can cut out me saying who it was.
It's fine. Who cares? The movie sucks anyway. Except that scene is good.
Yeah, and that scene is the most famous scene in probably comics history, if not just Spider-Man history.
Yeah. The only way in which the movie is a spoiler is if, like, Gwen's gotta fucking die because it's famous because of comic books, but whether or not she actually dies in any given movie is a spoiler, right?
Yeah.
Like, is she actually gonna die in this movie, or are they gonna have her die in the next movie?
Yeah.
Well, she's only been in 2 movies, so
yeah, exactly.
I'd say that means
die time. But at any rate, exactly. So Seebsen catches them. They land on a giant piece of metal, and they don't splatter on the ground. Whereas if they landed on a piece of metal that was not acting with the intent of rescuing them, then they would have splattered. So it's it's like the will. It's the will to save someone that changes how physics works.
Yeah. Fun fact: that's how magic works in like 90% of fantasy novels. Is that will is what makes magic happen. So.
Yep. Yeah.
So checks out. This all makes sense.
Yeah, it checks out. It's ether. It's not magic. It's ether.
If your name is Will, do you have an advantage?
You get advantage to all attack and damage rolls if your name is Will, because you have more will. That's how they call it, the will to power.
Yeah.
So at any rate, so it kind of skips ahead. Now you're at Solaris, you're at Shavat, and you're just hanging out, chatting with the Queen and shit. And they're like, what in the literal hell just happened? and they're picking it apart, and it's like, so it turns out Saitan was bad, but then he wasn't bad, but then he was bad again, but then he wasn't bad. Also, Soylent Green is people. Also, Weltall killed all the bad guys. And they're like, okay, wow, that's a lot. And then Saitan explains what the hell is going on with Faye, and it's a lot of very complicated gobbledygook.
Yeah.
But you got to pay attention because it's actually very important to the plot. And no, it is not going to not be mentioned again. It is going to be mentioned again, and you got to pay. So you got to remember it. Basically, id is a super evil. So Faye they just call it straight up dissociative identity disorder, which I'm sure, it's not at all a remotely accurate representation of it, but that is the phrase they use. They don't use some made up sci-fi term. They use actual psychological term, DID.
Oh, this is the one where it was a paragraph. He's like, yeah, he has dissociative identity disorder, most commonly known as multiple personalities. And Rico's like, multiple personalities, DID, what's that? And he goes, oh, like multiple personalities, it's called dissociative identity disorder.
yeah.
Like, come on, this is the most circular freaking definition you could
What more is there to
give.
say? There is more to say, but you didn't say it. You just repeated what you said the first time.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, it's weird though, because usually people only get multiple personality disorder when they have some sort of trauma. We don't really know what the deal is, but we do know that id was actually Faye's dominant personality, and back in the before time, id was an assassin who worked with Graf to do all sorts of bad shit all the time. He assassinated a bunch of people. It was a big thing, but then at some point, I guess his dad maybe wanted to seal away id because id is extremely terrible. So he used some sort of method to seal away id, and on top of the id personality, he constructed this sort of fake blank slate personality that is the Faye that we know and love. And that Faye literally is 3 years old. That's why he's so stupid.
Yeah.
And they do kind of say that.
Yeah, and they and so they talk about how there's an original personality that is like true Faye that id refers to as the coward, and that was Faye before the trauma. Then Faye had a trauma, created id and as a disassociation. So then they like tried to overwrite id with Faye type thing. It stopped making any sort of like scientific sense at that point. But like if you think of Faye as like a timeline diagram, you can kind of see where the split happens and stuff. But,
it makes like made up plot sense actually. But yeah, so again, the Faye we all know and love was intentionally created psyche that's like 3 years old basically, and it was made to keep a lid on id.
And Saitan mentions, he's like, so since id is the dominant personality, that's why when id takes over, Faye doesn't remember anything, and that's a very important thing. But also, Faye is the one actually in control and puts the control over id itself. So everything I explained kind of is just words, but they're
no. He says that Faye, the reason that it doesn't have complete control is because of whatever is that bottom layer true personality is kind of on regular Faye's side almost, and is helping him out, helping him maintain control or something like that. So basically Faye's troubled.
Yeah.
Is the thing. He is a land of contrasts, in the most literal possible sense.
Yeah.
A lot going on with Faye.
This is basically Takahashi's like, you know how all JRPG protagonists have to have amnesia? Let me do you 3 better.
Yeah. Hold my beer, right? But then everyone in Shavat is like, yeah, so id's way too dangerous. So since we can't figure out how to fix Faye's issues, we should just encase him in carbonite.
Also, they call it carbonite as another just overt reference to Star Wars.
Yep. And that was earlier. If you explored Shavat enough earlier, that is not an ass pull. You can go to the carbonite room earlier in the game, and you're like, this seems inhumane, and they're like, what can you do? It's war, right? There's a war on.
Yeah.
So so this is where we flash back to the id conversation. So Saitan and id had this extremely long talking to where Saitan tells id what for. Actually, id's like, I could kill the shit out of you right now. I'm so evil. I could break these restraints and kill you. And Saitan's like, actually, you couldn't, because doing that would require way too much emotional energy or mental energy. And after you did it, then Faye would come back, and you don't want Faye to come back because you want to keep being id forever. And it's like, damn, you got me.
And also Saitan's like, remember when I kicked your ass down in Atlantis? Bring it.
Seriously. You ain't my pops. So then Ellie, so they're all just like, we got it in case Faye and Carbonite, and they're all just like, well, this doesn't seem like a great thing to do, but I guess we got to. So then it's nighttime, and Faye's in jail, and Ellie breaks him out, because she's like the power of love, Pokemon movie 2000 or something. And I don't care if you murder the shit of everybody, also I'll kick your ass if you do. Oh, we missed the big face scene earlier, right? Yeah. No? Ellie and Ellie and id robot fight, right?
Oh yeah.
That
part.
So at some point during this escape, they're all escaping from Solaris. Everything's collapsing or whatever. They're all on top of the Yggdrasil, and they're like, "Oof, we got away!" And then id robot shows up, and he's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." And then that's when Saitan is like, Ellie, you know Faye better than anybody. Go up there.
He says that everyone's like, there's nothing we can do, and Ellie by herself runs out to go and fight him.
That's right. So Ellie runs out.
The thing with Ellie is just in the debrief with the queen, he's just like, Ellie, you know more than anything. You've noticed that he acts weird or whatever. It was.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, Ellie goes up to the top to fight him, and it's not actually a boss battle, it's just a cutscene. And Ellie basically pulls what Faye pulled on her earlier, where she like pins him down and gives him a big hug and doesn't let him move. And then that makes Faye come back a little bit, and then all the way, and then so she just makes Faye go away by the power of love or whatever the fuck, because whenever she attacks with her robot, because when she attacks, hearts come out because she's a girl and her robot is pink.
Which is why I prefer Zeepson,
right?
But, yeah,
exactly.
Also, because Seepson owns
breaking gender norms.
Yeah, Seepson owns so hard.
Yeah, it does. That fucking robot is amazing.
So Ellie frees Faye, and she's like, again, like, the power of love. She's like, well, if war makes id come out, then we'll just go somewhere where there's no war. And Faye's like, oh, but I'm always going to be a danger. And she's just like, whatever, fuck off. And he's just like, okay.
She actually said something that I thought was kind of sweet. He's like, but like, I'm a danger. Like, what if id comes out and kills everybody? And she goes, well, I'll still be with you because no one needs to be alone. And I was like, that's really sweet.
That is sweet. Also, she could kick his ass.
Yeah.
But I kind of like how she's just like, yeah, you're smarter than me. If you think it's okay, it's probably okay. But then it turns out Saitan's there. He's like, what are y'all doing here? And then she's like, oh no. And he's like, no, it's cool. I'll help you as well. And then the whole party is there, and they're all like, hey, we don't want you to be encased in carbonite because we have passed that low bar of friendship. Like, friendship is hard, and you got good friends and bad friends. But like, I feel like the least you can do for someone is not want them to be encased in carbonite. So that's it. So they fly off. But then we go to Brain Ball, and Brain Ball is arguing with they're not, no, Krellian's there, but they're arguing about the Emperor, and they're like, beep boop, the Emperor sucks because he has a body. We're better because we're just computer. Computer is better than having body. Beep boop.
PC Master Race.
Literally PC Master Race. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would wear a shirt that has the Brain Ball with that phrase on it, except people wouldn't get it, and they would think I'm just a shitty PC person.
Right.
And not that it's actually a very clever joke. Yeah, and there's also a point where they're like, Ramses, you have so many emotions. They're like, Krellian, you have so many emotions about Ellie. And he's like, I don't have emotions. He's like, I just need her. And they're like, isn't that also an emotion? And I'm like, owned. Yeah, and then we but then they send Ramses. They're like, okay, well, since Ramses can't do anything else, maybe he could possibly fucking stop Faye and Ellie from getting away in this robot. So he tries to stop them from getting away in the robot, and he is like, I'm finally gonna get you. I'm finally gonna. Oh, they actually send him. They're like, we don't care about Faye. You need to capture Ellie. Ellie's the important one. You have to capture Ellie, not kill. Capture. Make sure to capture Ellie. And Ramses is like, kill Faye. Got it.
When was the part where Ramses came out to stop us and we literally blew him up? And he's like, "Damn you!" I don't remember when that happened, but it was funny when it happened.
That either is gonna that either happens in a second or it happened earlier.
It happened earlier. I think it was when Id blew everything up. Ramses ran out. He's like,
"Oh yeah." Ramses was about to fuck everyone up, and then Id showed up.
Yeah, it just blew him up. And it was kind of like surprising when it happened. I'm like, oh, what's Id going to do? And Ramses is right there. He's like, let's fight. And then literal explosions just cover up that entire half where
I'm
going to
blow up you and the entire floating city.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ramses is again wanting to get revenge again because he's not trash. He's cool or whatever. And again, they're like,
I'm not trash, you're trash.
He started as one of my favorite villains of this game, and now I'm just like, dude, go talk to a therapist. And just
the thing is,
stop.
He clearly needs a therapist. He clearly has some issues. They explain the issues at some point, and when they do, it's very interesting. But like, there's been no development. It's just like we know he has issues, and we're waiting for them to explain what they are.
Yeah.
It's like, I know.
He's been like slowly degenerating into just a giant crybaby.
Although in some ways, it's not a writing issue so much as like he's degenerating more and more because he keeps losing.
Yeah.
So it's like every time they kick his ass, he gets more and more unstable, but also that means he's just going to get his ass kicked more because he sucks at fighting.
Yeah.
So anyway, he shows up fucking again, and he's like, again, they're like, your job is to kidnap Ellie, and he's like, cool, murder Faye, got it. So you fight.
And so they give him that big old Omni gear to do it. And they're like, your Goldar gear sucks and you lose every time. So take this Omni gear to go and stop.
The Emperor like gives him a pep talk. Basically, he's like, dude, the reason why you always lose, it's not because you're trash. It's because your robot's not as good. If you have a better robot, you'll win. He's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm not trash. I just needed a better robot. Thank you so much. He just really needed some encouragement and someone to lie to him, basically.
Yeah.
That's me. That's 100% me.
All you want is for someone to tell you that the magic potion they gave you didn't actually do anything. It just gave you confidence. And what you really needed was to have confidence. But then secretly, the magic potion actually did make you better. But they don't want you want to lie and say it didn't.
It contained only a few spoonfuls of LSD.
So anyway, Ramses fights, and he actually kicks Faye's ass because his robot is way too much better. He has 100% synchronization rate or whatever. And Ellie is inside the same robot as Faye, by the way. He kicks their ass. They crash down to Earth, but still. And then Ramses is so stupid. First of all, they crash down to Earth, and his first mistake is he's like, "Oh shit! I accidentally killed Ellie too. Oh well, fuck the Emperor. I don't care. I just wanted to kill Faye. That's fine." So that's his first mistake. Is he like forgot his orders and just killed Ellie anyway? But then he I don't know. They fell down. He didn't follow up. He wasn't like,
they're in human-shaped spaceships that we have already seen can survive falls from outer space.
He's like, I'm not going to go down there and make sure they died. Mission accomplished. I'm done here. He's so stupid. So he's like, cool, I won. Bye. And then you're down on the surface finally, and you're in a forest. The graphics are the same as that god-awful forest from the beginning of the game. It may or may not be the same forest. And Faye is like, oh, Ellie's super, super injured. Oh, no. I don't know if she's going to make it.
All of this blood.
He punched out all her blood. I don't know if she's going to make it. And then it's like, you want to save Kupo? And I'm like, cool. And that's it. That's it for disc 1.
We did
so many goddamned things happened. And Faye really needs a therapist. Everyone in this game just really needs a therapist.
I was going to say, everybody in this game needs a therapist. I would love to start some sort of comic or blog or something of like video game therapy.
That'd be pretty funny, actually. Like, that sounds like the premise for a webcomic that would be really, really bad, and that's just because most video game webcomics are
really bad.
It's the worst form. It's the worst form of art to ever exist. But like, theoretically, would be good if someone good actually made it. You know. But yeah. It's like a freaking like support group where it's like Cloud and Faye and Zidane and all the other JRPG heroes with severe mental health issues. Cortana, Cortana's there. Poor Cortana. You know what? Fucking Halsey. While we're there, while we're at it, she's clearly got some issues. Halsey, the doctor from Halo, not Halsey, the musical artist, obviously. Although, who knows? Maybe Halsey, musical artist, could be there as well.
Right?
They bring her in for a special. They give a concert that they can all enjoy themselves.
Yeah. That's the season 1 arc is.
Yes. They all form a band with music by Halsey. Anyway, that's it. So disc 1 is over. We finally figured out what is the deal with everybody. We know the bad guys' motivations. They want to like resurrect God and shit. We know that Faye's got some problems. We know that Saitan was bad and then good and then bad and then good again, and we're pretty sure he's landed on good here. We also know that Ellie...
Until we spin the dial again.
We also know that Ellie's got some shit going on. None of the other characters are important at this point. They're just there. Bart is just there to be Faye's boyfriend, and Rico is just there to be Faye's other boyfriend, and Krellian is also just there to be Faye's boyfriend.
There was a part. Let me see if I took a picture of it. So it was in the big thing. I think I might have taken just a picture on my phone and not on the thing, but it was about Rico and Rico pretending like he was important. Oh yeah, I found it. So so everyone's like, oh, it is bad actually. Like we need to take care of it. And so everyone's like putting 2 and 2 together. They're like, oh, so he's the one that fucked up the Yggdrasil, and he was the one that fucked us up in Atlantis, and all of this. And then Rico says, so he was the one who killed my subordinates in the sewers. No, he wasn't. That was Red Rum.
That was Red Rum.
We literally
we solved that mystery. Yeah.
I'm just, God damn it, Rico. You're not supposed to be important for the rest of this game. Stop trying to be important.
Yeah, he's like trying to help. He's like, I figured it out. And they're like,
I just want to be a part of things.
I just wanted to have a plot revelation. I can't tell if that's what is intended there, or if they really are trying to be like, no, like Red Rum was a monster in the sewers, but actually it killed them. And I'm like, wait, but we found the blood across from the sewer grates and the bell, and no,
everything lines up for it to be Red Rum. I thought it was like a reveal too, and I'm like, no, it just doesn't make sense, Rico.
It's just I think maybe Takahashi is like, you know what, you probably forgot about that part of the game by now, so we'll just have a plot twist, and you're not going to think that hard about it, and you're going to think it's a plot twist that makes sense because it's been 20 hours since you had the relevant data. But it's like, no, sorry, Takahashi, we remember the thing that you wrote. I don't know if you remember it, but we remember it. Yeah, so just FYI, most of the stuff you learned in this chapter that doesn't have to do with Faye's problems doesn't matter. Well, it's one of those things where, there's still more twists coming. It's like, it doesn't matter what, who are the bad guys in the weird Jesus dude in Persona 3?
Strega?
Oh,
yeah.
Strega.
It's like, does it really matter what Strega's motivation is? No, because they're not the real villain.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
It's like, oh, the Emperor and all them, they think they know what the real motivation is for the villain, but yeah, it turns out it's not going to fucking matter because they're all dumb. They're all a bunch of dumb idiots, and their real plot is something different.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much if you're a little confused, because
don't forget that the opening scene took place on a spaceship where Satan became a computer virus and fucked a lot of things up. We have no idea how any of this is going to do it.
That is still going to be relevant at some point, even though it hasn't yet. Exactly. Yeah, it's good shit. So yeah, anything else for this week, or are we done, skis?
No. So
I'm good.
I haven't done these in a while, but I feel this is a good time to do it. Eli, what was your favorite part of disc 1? You can go back to the whole disc.
Oh, of all of disc 1, wait, what happened?
All right, let me go and I'll re-explain the plot from the very beginning. We'll do 8 more episodes just to catch Eli up.
I should listen to our own podcast sometime. I can't listen to my own voice. It just it's so beautiful and sultry.
If you want, I can do a pitch shift so it just sounds like somebody else.
Yes. I've liked all the stuff with Bart a whole bunch. Yeah. I think he's my favorite character. I freaking love that guy. He's always really enjoyable, and I really want him to be Faye's actual boyfriend. So, yeah. But yeah, all the stuff with Bart has been really cool to me. I like how enamored he became with the Men of the Sea too.
Like, probably my favorite bit of Bart development was when you're on the boat and he stops and he looks out. He's like, you know what? Fuck being a sand pirate. From now on, I'm a man of the sea. Like,
you know what?
Like, it's been like
all about water now.
It's been like days since you were on the Thames, and the whole time he's been sitting there to himself. He's like, you know what? Yeah, man of the sea. That's it. Nope. That's my life now, and I just have to say it the next time I'm on the
ocean. Yes.
The most important thing about being a man of the sea is just saying man of the sea as many times as possible. Right. And the more you say man of the sea, more man of the sea you are.
Yeah. And you have to look at 3 different cameras when you say it.
Yeah.
But my favorite part so far would probably be, I don't know, because it spoils it at the end. So I was going to say the like subtle, like the main idea that the game is trying to say about religion is like, no, it's okay to be religious and spiritual and all of that stuff is your personal relationship with naked space lady. And that's all on you. You don't have to do what the church says just because it's what the church says. That Jesse gives right before he gets shot out of a fucking cannon and says that people kill people and ruins it at the end. I think the first half of that might be my favorite just because it's like a through line for the rest of the game type thing. So it's like, why aren't all these people like collapsing while all of their societies collapse around them? And it's because that doesn't define them. And that's really like a good thing in this day and age where I can still be not patriotic, but like I can still like the things that like it quote unquote means to be an American without what it literally means to be an American in this shitty genocidal age and stuff. And,
in other words, you can still eat hot dogs.
Yeah, I can still eat hot dogs, apple pie, and watch baseball. I just don't have to anything else.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that probably is up there for my favorite moment. My favorite like gameplay bit, I don't know, probably hasn't happened. But yeah, it's all in all, I can see why this game is important more than I can see why this game is good, if that makes sense. Like I can see like the things it's saying, the things it's doing, the things it's like wanting to do, the way it's turning tropes on its head and telling its own story and all of that stuff. But then there's just things that hold it back from being like truly good in my eyes. So I can see why it's as popular as it is. And
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the game itself, like the gameplay and the mechanics haven't aged super well either.
Especially considering that Takahashi's later stuff builds on it and is way better. Yeah. Like Xenosaga's battle system is really similar to this one, but way better.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like it so far, and supposedly I'm getting to where it's finally good, so I'm ready to strap in for disc 2. But yeah, other than that, I don't want to ask what Spiffle's favorite part of disc 1 is because it might be a spoiler for disc 2.
No, not really. I don't. My favorite part is I just think the entire. I mean, Battle Tower is probably my favorite because I love the music. I love how mysterious and spooky it is. And then after that point, the game just really kicks it into high gear.
Yeah, I think
Solaris, I think, is really good. Again, like, this game's got great towns, except that the first great town, even though it's really detailed and big and beautiful, it's still just kind of a boring desert town. But like Shavat is big and beautiful and unique and has cool music, and then Solaris is even bigger and more beautiful and weird. And the writing is really, really cool. And there's these weird little space cars that go around, and it feels like you're in a dumb carnival. So I think that some of the world building is like stupendously good. And that's probably my favorite part of the game is a lot of the NPC writing, and also those dialogue options that you can pick that are fun. What is it? It's fine, or it's
questionable.
It's questionable. Exactly. And the world sense was what I remember being my favorite thing about it before, and it still is my favorite thing about it. Also, I like Hammer. I know he has no personality and he just shows up for 5 seconds and then decides to be a traitor for some reason, but I like Hammer.
Yeah,
he's good.
He's my bro.
I like that Master Splinter is. It's like they try to sell you so hard on it that you're just like, okay, fine, I'll believe it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that does us for the week.
Yeah, I figured this would be long, and it was. Just FYI for y'all, the next we have approximately 7 hours left of the game, but we're doing 2 weeks of it because it's just plot. But either way, it's going to be pretty light, I think. So we got 2 more episodes. Once again, I'm a ding dong. I forgot to figure out when we're stopping. I'll figure it out. I mean, it's not going to be a lot of playing either way.
I have the game facts open. So
yeah, but it's very uneven. Like, some of those chapters have long ass dungeons in them, and some of those chapters do not have long ass dungeons in them.
So would you say when we get to the paradise or the promised land, would that be a halfway point? Because it looks okay. So that would be chapter 56, paradise. Thereabouts is where we're stopping. We'll call it there. In the show notes, because I'll be doing this after probably all of us play, I'll have it specifically where to stop, but it'll be around when you get to the paradise and or promised land.
Yeah, so that pretty much does it for the week. If you like what you hear and you want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/RPGbookclub. If you just want to chat, we've got a Twitter at RPG Book Club, email rpgbookclub@gmail.com, and our Discord, which does not have a catchy URL, link in the description.
Yeah, so right now on our Patreon, patrons can vote between our next 2 games. One is Legend of Dragoon, one is Shining Force. Currently, it is neck and neck tied, and if it ends in a tie, then the 3 of us will take a vote, and the winner of that vote will then be the deciding vote. And so if you don't want us to have any autonomy, someone go in there and get some votes added. But I really thought that no one would vote for Shining Force, and then we made the joke, well, if you don't want us to play Legend of Dragoon, drop us $1 and vote for Shining Force, and 2 people literally did that. We had 2 new patrons, and they both voted for Shining Force, so thanks.
Yeah, so we'll figure out what the fuck is happening with that. Join us next week where we play all the way through chapter, not 100% sure, probably chapter 56 Paradise or 57 Promised Land. That's probably around the stopping point. Yeah. For RPG Book Club, this has been Michael at Spiffle Weapon.
And I have been Sam Allman.
And I've been Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Bye, everybody.
Hello.